Human race has faced a lot of mishappenings from the very beginning, especially if we look that they have experienced many wars, natural disasters, pandemics, and lots more. But what hurts the most is when people die because of human negligence. We've seen the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, which badly affected the human beings as well as the animals in that particular area. And just before that, we've seen the worst ever industrial disaster in the lake city, Bhopal of Madhya Pradesh, state of India. Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we'll be looking back at the Bhopal Gas Leak disaster and take a look at the victims of the gas leak. So let's begin. On December 3rd, 1984, about 45 tons of the dangerous gas methyl isocyanate escaped from an insecticide plant that was owned by the Indian subsidiary of the American firm Union Carbide Corporation. The gas drifted over the densely populated neighborhoods around the plant, killing thousands of people immediately and creating a panic as tens of thousands of others attempted to flee Bhopal. The final death toll was estimated to be between 15,000 and 20,000. 37 years ago, India experienced a horror of untold magnitude in the form of the Bhopal gas leak, in which over 5 lakh people were exposed to methyl isocyanate gas and other highly toxic substances like carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, etc. that made their way into and around the small towns located near the plant. Now let's look into this tragedy. Just try to watch what happened and how people are still struggling with it even today. On the intervening night of 2nd to 3rd December, about 40 tons of dangerous gas methyl isocyanate escaped from an insecticide plant that was owned by the Indian subsidiary of the American firm Union Carbide Corporation. The incident had taken place at the plant number C of the Union Carbide factory in Bhopal. As per reports, the leak occurred when water entered tank number 610 containing 42 tons of methyl isocyanide, MIC. The result was a runaway chemical reaction that vented highly toxic MIC gas into the atmosphere. The gas cloud consisted of MIC and other gases, like carbon monoxide, hydrogen cyanide, etc., all of which were extremely toxic to humans and animals. As the cool morning breeze picked up pace, it carried the poisonous gas, leaking from the Union Carbide factory to the rest of the city and killing people both awake and asleep. According to the Madhya Pradesh government's estimates, the tragedy killed 3,787 people in and around Bhopal. However, media reports pegged the actual death toll anywhere between 16,000 and 30,000, and the injury count close to 500,000. A whopping 5 lakh were exposed to the toxic gas leak. Well, about 500,000 people suffered respiratory problems, eye irritation or blindness, and other maladies resulting from exposure to the toxic gas. Many were awarded compensation of a few $100s. Investigations later established that substandard operating and safety procedures at the understaffed plant had led to the disaster. So here a quick question arises. What caused the disaster? Well, there are 2 main lines of argument involving the disaster. The corporate negligence point of view argues that the disaster was caused by a potent combination of under-maintained and decaying facilities. Here we can see a weak attitude towards safety and an undertrained workforce, resulting in workers' actions that inadvertently enabled water to penetrate the MIC tanks in the absence of properly working safeguards. The worker sabotage point of view, held by Union Carbide, argues that it was not physically possible for the water to enter the tank without concerted human effort. Here comes the extensive testimony and engineering analysis that leads to a conclusion that water entering the tank when a rogue individual employee hooked a water hose directly to an empty valve on the side of the tank. The point of view further argues that the Indian government took extensive actions to hide this possibility in order to attach blame to UCC, the Union Carbide Corporation. Theories differ as to how the water entered the tank. At the time, workers were cleaning out a clogged pipe with water about 400 feet from the tank. They claimed that they were not told to isolate the tank with a pipe slip blind plate. The operators assumed that, owing to bad maintenance and leaking valves, it was possible for the water to leak into the tank. This water entry route could not be reproduced despite hard efforts by motivated parties. UCC claims that a disgruntled worker deliberately connected a hose to a pressure gauge connection and was the real cause. Early the next morning, a UCIL, Union Carbide Indian Limited manager, asked the instrument engineer to replace the gauge. UCIL's investigation team found no evidence of the necessary connection. The investigation was totally controlled by the government. denying UCC investigators access to the tank or interviews with the operators. Besides the horrific death toll, the gas leak left an indelible mark on the population of Bhopal. In the immediate post-leak situation, more than half of the city's population complained of coughing, itchy eyes, skin, and facing breathing problems. Tens of thousands suffered from blindness and ulcers. On the other hand, the government started legal proceedings between India, Union Carbide, and the US began right after the gas tragedy. The government passed the Bhopal Gas Leak Act in March 1985, which allowed it to act as the legal representative for victims. Initially, the US-based firm offered a $5 million relief fund to India, which the government turned down, asking for a $3.3 billion compensation. Eventually, an out-of-court settlement was reached on February 1989. Union Carbide agreed to pay $470 million for damages caused. The Supreme Court of India also laid down guidelines for the money. The family of the dead were to be given 100,000 to 300,000 rupees. In addition, fully or partially disabled were to be given 50,000 to 500,000 rupees, and those with a temporary injury, 25,000 to 100,000 rupees. In June 2010, 7 former employees of Union Carbide, who were all Indian nationals, were convicted of causing death by negligence and sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment. However, they were later released on bail. In between, UCC chairman and CEO Warren Anderson was arrested and released on bail by the Madhya Pradesh police on Bhopal on 7 December 1984. Anderson was taken to UCC's house, after which he was released 6 hours later on $2,100 bail and flown out on a government plane. These actions were allegedly taken under the direction of the Chief Secretary of the state, who was possibly instructed from the Chief Minister's office, who flew him out of Bhopal immediately. In 1987, the Indian government summoned Anderson, 8 other executives, and 2 company affiliates to appear in Indian court on homicide charges. In response, Union Carbide said the company is not under Indian jurisdiction. However, people did not stop blaming him for the calamity, and they wanted his arrest, but he didn't get arrested after that and then died in 2014. People lost their lives. Some have lost their loved ones. A gas tragedy victim, Raisa B., 64, has lost 3 members of her family, including husband and her daughter. She said, food grains and medical care, compensation, and widow pension all have come only after prolonged protests, submission of memorandums, visits to government departments. She further added hours and hours of meetings with officials and ministers and petitions filed in the local court in Bhopal, High Court in Jabalpur, and the Supreme Court. I think the life of a gas victim is a lot like football. The Bhopal Gas Tragedy Relief and Rehabilitation Department said that by the end of October 2003, judgment had been made on more than 1 million claims, that compensation being awarded to 554,895 people for injury and 15,310 claims for deaths. Almost 500,000 victims have been paid a partly amount of 25,000 rupees by the Indian courts, while for deaths, a shameful amount of 100,000 rupees has been paid on average, said N.D. Jayaprakash, co-convener of Bhopal Gas Peedit Sangharsh Sahayog Samiti, a victim support organization. More than 4,000 victims still visit health facilities every day for treatment of gas-related ailments 20 years after the event. In the year 1984, India has faced the worst ever industrial disaster, which affected the lives of millions of people. And many of the people are still getting treatment for what they have experienced, and this will haunt the city for many years, as some greedy people don't value the worth of the lives of human beings. Well, this brings us to the end of today's video. I hope you get the valuable information out of it. If you like our content, make sure that you give our video a like, and do share your views and opinions with us in the comments section below. Subscribe to the channel to get videos from us regularly, and also do not forget to hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.